I don't love this weird barricade aesthetic they've got going, but otherwise the entrance isn't too bad. Kind of cute. Guest relations is a trailer. Welcome to Wild Waves. No swimming. Damn. I'm waving wildly. See, because I'm Eric, the channel is Aggressive Rolling, and these are the last days of
Wild Waves opened in 1977, the same year as Star Wars, as the Enchanted Village amusement park, with the water park, Wild Waves, opening in 1984. But in this, the park's final year, it's just Wild Waves, with the only entrance leading you directly into the water park area, so the focus is certainly clear. But of course I'm here for the amusement rides, or what's left of them, which open 1 hour after the water slides. Now this is listed on the website, and there's signage posted, as you can see, if you look slightly right.
I'm sure they'll fix that next year.
But the result of this policy is people lining up 20 minutes before opening for an old Arrow corkscrew, and no park should do that to their guests. It's just cruel. Technically, this has been my home park for the last 8 years, but I'd never visited. Partially because, even though it's relatively close, it's actually fairly difficult for me to get to, as I currently live a happy, car-free, city-centric existence near a light rail station that can get me to the airport and off to exciting, far-flung adventures, but can't get me all the way down to Wild Waves. So I'd have to rent a car, but it's kind of too close to go to the trouble of renting a car just to go there, if that makes any sense. The other reason is simply that the park has never looked particularly amazing to me and its reputation was quite bad. Although some of the park is actually quite charming, it's clearly been having financial trouble for a few years now, being closed for the entire 2020 season due to the pandemic and never really properly recovering. Lots of rides have been removed, though none of the coasters as far as I can tell, and several others stand closed and fenced off, presumably having been given up on. Not much point opening them now, I suppose being the thinking, since it's been announced that the park will be closing for good at the end of the 2026 season. Klondike Gold Rusher is a wild mouse with 2 single-car trains, which is run in a way where the first train has to be back in the station before the second one can be dispatched. Obviously, this makes for a slow operation, and wild mice tend to have low capacity anyway, so I headed there straight away and didn't have to wait long at all. There's only one set of brakes on the actual course, and I got tossed around quite a bit in the turns. Which is a good thing. That's what wild mice are supposed to do. A lot of the park has very loud music playing. I'm trying to avoid including that for copyright reasons, but here's Wild Waves advertising itself on its radio station.
You're listening to The Wave. Save big when you book a group outing. From church groups and company picnics to birthdays and family reunions, we help make your event a success. Learn more at wildwaves.com or by emailing sales@wildwaves.com.
My understanding is that Klondike Gold Rusher is closed quite a lot, often for days at a time, so I reckon I was lucky to get on it at all. But it was a fun ride, and I was a bit surprised that the park ran it this wildly, when they could easily have cut down on maintenance costs by engaging the brake on the switchbacks and slowing the train to a crawl. Timberhawk is another fenced-off attraction, a Zamperla Ranger that seems to have been running until fairly recently, but if I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't have ridden this anyway. Lumberjack Falls is an intimate shoot-the-chute that originally operated at Opryland in Nashville, and then moved to Old Indiana Fun and Water Park before ending up here. So apparently this ride kills parks. It goes up a lift, does a U-turn, down the drop, and then back home. The only theming is around the station and can all be seen off-ride. There are some nice trees, but otherwise your view from the turnaround is of the roads outside the park. On the plus side, for a shoot-the-chute, the splash is fairly tame and you don't get soaked. This area was once the main entrance for Enchanted Village, but now just confused buildings remain to indicate that. Park ownership has changed a few times over the years, with Six Flags even being in charge at one point, though the park was never branded thus. I'm sure these rotating owners and management companies have done nothing to keep Wild Waves focused, consistent, or profitable. But I did get the impression that there are people here who love the place and are really trying, which makes its imminent closure even more heartbreaking. I'm not exactly sure what that thing is, or was, but I'm reasonably certain that we're not going to be able to ride it. At least, not without getting trespassed. There's also a powered kiddie coaster here, but luckily I don't count credits, and wouldn't count powered coasters even if I did, so I don't have to bother.
Welcome to Old West Territory, home of whatever that used to be. And a sprinkler. Ooh, 2 sprinklers. We're living good. There's a ride back there. Can we get on it? All signs point to no. I mean, I guess it's good they're trying to hide the rides they've given up on. All right, they're checking off on it, so there's a chance, right?
Enjoy your ride.
I don't think this one's gonna open.
This circular area is clearly fenced off to keep you from enjoying nature too much. How enchanting. This train ride is built entirely on raised platforms, which is cool, and has some theming and scenery along the course, which makes this the closest thing Wild Waves has to a dark ride, what with the Jeep Safari closed. And as such, I was going to ride it. In my defense, there weren't a whole lot of rides open. Unfortunately, it turns out it's only for children so hard that parents can't even ride it with their kids. This probably should have made me feel some sort of shame, but actually just confused me, because these kinds of rides usually do accommodate adults. Which makes me wonder if this policy is designed to save on maintenance by keeping the train light. Or something? At this point, I'm reduced to conspiracy theories. The bumper cars were open, and there is some theming in this area, which is nice, though most of the work is done by the natural trees, plants, and flowers of the Pacific Northwest, an area of the world where it's quite easy to have your park enveloped by natural beauty. All you have to do is get out of the way and not pave every inch of the ground. I'm looking at you here, Vancouver's Playland. I can't decide if this unsit-onable bench is the worst thing I've ever seen or the second best reason to visit this park. Either way, the best reason is Timberhawk, Ride of Prey, the park's S&S wooden coaster. Timberhawk, Ride of Prey, is one of just 4 woodies ever built by S&S. 2 of the other 3 are closed, and the other is in Denmark. That one, Falcon, will soon be the last. I have ridden it, and it wasn't bad, but Timberhawk is better. Usually, when a park is struggling, the first thing that goes out the window is spending the time, effort, and money on their wooden coaster's track maintenance. But Timberhawk, Ride of Prey, is quite smooth. There's also one pretty decent moment of airtime. Operations weren't the best, but I've seen worse. Apparently there is a second train, but the line wasn't too long with just the one. I expected worse, frankly, and quite a bit of roughness. But no. Which brings me to my central assertion. I wouldn't describe Wild Waves as shoddy or run down particularly. It's more like a sinking ship that's jettisoned every piece of cargo it can to stay afloat, whilst maintaining its vital system so it can still sail. Many rides have been removed, as we've seen, but what's still here does seem to be maintained and cared for.
Oh, the geese will probably miss this place when it becomes a warehouse. Not sure what's going on there, like maybe for a lake show that used to exist or something. We've also got this thing which could be a stage or could be like an observation deck, but then there's seating back here as if it's a stage. I'm sure it's long gone, whatever it was. I mean, it's not ugly. The park has some potential, but then again, I think all parks are like 2 good rides and a policy change away from being great, so.
The Soaring Eagle zipline is a $5 upcharge, but considering the low capacity, I don't think that's outrageous. Indeed, $5 seems quite reasonable. I can't remember if I've ever done one of these before. I want to say no, but I did this one and it was fun. So there's another little win for Wild Waves. Well, if you like carousels, they have one.
I imagine this ride will open up later if I'm patient enough.
The Disco Flashback Boogie Ride, best name in the park, by the way, or the Candy Factory. I did want to eat in the park. I consider food part of the experience. But the most interesting looking place was Sharky's, and, well, it was hard to tell if or when it opened, or what kind of food it served.
I couldn't find a menu, hours, or even like a come on in sign. Not online and not in person. And I didn't want to walk up the stairs just to get turned away. Not that I'm too lazy to walk upstairs, despite what you might have heard. But, like, if you want my money, at least meet me halfway here. So I gave it a miss and ate outside of the park. What do I rate Wild Waves? On Eric's weird 0 to 10 scale, it's a 2. Ding. 2. But I honestly thought going in it might be a 1 or even a 0.
It's got its highlights, and I can certainly see how people who've grown up with the place might have fond memories of it. But it is substandard when you get right down to it. Even at its best, if all the rides that have been closed were still there, I just don't think it's the kind of place that would wow me. It's never had a dark ride, never had an observation tower, never had a better or more extensive coaster collection than it does now, and at least as far as I can tell, never had vastly more theming. Having said that, I hate to see any park close.
Especially in the relatively park-deficient Pacific Northwest, and in particular Seattle is now going to be left with basically nothing roller coaster-wise, which is a real shame because that's where I live.
I like how low the fences are. Is that a weird thing to say?